right. Hello everyone and welcome to the first stream that I'm doing on YouTube for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Today we are going to be doing a really quick flight from Dallas-Fort Worth to Kansas City. So there's a little bit of weather in Dallas. It's kind of cold and snowy-ish. It was sleeting a little bit earlier today. I think it's calmed down. But I thought it'd be fun to just do a quick flight, kind of do like a setup, just see how the whole stream thing works. Let's lower my chair here. There we go, so I'm not cut off. Okay, so first things first, I got the new Airbus, the Thrustmaster TCA Airbus flight stick, and I've got, let's see if I can do it without messing anything up. I've got the throttle quadrant here. I guess it's not a quadrant because there's only two of them, but I've got that. So we'll be using that today. I think it makes flying the Airbus really fun. I know in my last video I had the Turtle Beach, the big flight stick, that one, the meaty one that was huge. That one's really fun. This one's better for flying the Airbus because the Airbus needs almost no input to it sometimes. So a lot of what you're doing in the Airbus is actually fiddling with the MCDU instead of actually flying the plane. So that's good for Cessna. I know the PMDG Boeing 737 is supposed to come out any day now. So whenever that comes out, I'll definitely try and hop on that. I know it's going to be a little pricey, but I think I can swing it and learn how to fly that because I don't know how to fly the 737. I have the 777 in this sim, but it's the crappy version that nobody likes. So I never fly it. I fly the A320 almost exclusively right now. Just because it's really easy to fly during the day without having to take up your whole desk. So I thought for this type of thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through everything that I know about setting up a flight sim, from SimBrief to Navigraph to Volanta into the game, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and then setting up the flight in there. So over here in SimBrief by Navigraph, I guess what I should say, we'll create a new flight here. We're going to be flying JetBlue Flight 6643, and we will take off from DFW, fly into Kmci, which is Kansas City. We're flying an A320 today. So from here, for anybody that doesn't really know what SimBrief does, it automatically generates a flight plan for you and makes it in a format where you can download it really easily and just import it into the game. I'll show you that in a second. And what this does is it'll give you your stars and your waypoints here, and it'll kind of, it'll show you a preview of it. The only thing that it doesn't do, from what I've noticed, is it doesn't do departures and arrivals. It doesn't really know, not that it doesn't know how to do it, it just doesn't. You have to input that yourself, which, that changes from day to day depending on the wind. But what it likes to do is it usually takes live weather and inputs your runways to take off into the wind. Sometimes it doesn't, but we're not taking off from a short runway, so it shouldn't matter. Okay, so we've got our flight plan generated and ready to go. We're flying on 11th of March. That's updated. We'll save this flight. So what this does is it saves the flight. If you wanted to go to my flights, you would have I have a whole list of them. So when you generate the flight, this will spit out a flight plan and a download. I'll show you in a second. So here we've got our routing, aircraft, origin, cruise 350, departure date, takeoff weight, all that good stuff. So once we've got that done, we can come down here. You can actually see the flight plan, the OFP itself, if you want to look at it there. So once that's done, what I like to do is actually go into SimBrief Downloader. This is a free program you can get if you pay for, actually you don't have to pay for anything. This is free. SimBrief is completely free. If you're worried about trying to get into this, but you don't want to spend the $10 a month for some other programs I know that require it, you can just download SimBrief for free. So you hit export selected format. Yes, we will overwrite our previous flight plan. So what this does is it gives you two files. There's an FLP and a plan file. So once you've done that, you can kind of just exit out of it. And if we come back into the game here, let's see if I can get myself into the game. There we go. So once you're in the game, all you need to go is go to the flight map. So we're flying JetBlue, that's fine. You go down to more down here. I don't know if you can really see it, but you can hit space or you can hit more. There's a load save button. Load from this PC. Locate where you downloaded it, which is right here. Boom, load it up. So what this will do is it'll give you those 3 points, the 5 points that we had marked, and you can see that up here. It actually plans out your route for you. This is something Microsoft Flight Simulator does pretty well, is allow you to actually create a flight plan through the in-game map. So what you'll have to do, so we're taking off from DFW off of 36 right. So we don't want to start at the end of the runway. That would be pretty bad. I forget to do this all the time. So we got to remember we're doing the BLEC08, the Bleco 36 right departure. We'll come over here, just choose a departure gate after it loads for a second. So what this will do is it actually just puts us on a direct departure, which we don't want right now. We want to go back. And there's tons of ways to do this. You can do this in the game itself, but I like to play with the ATC through Microsoft Flight Simulator, and if you do that, if you just jump into the game without a flight plan, the ATC doesn't really know what to do with your flight plan, and it'll tell you to take off, and then they won't give you any other instructions. And for most people that play with other people online, that's fine, but I don't. So our arrivals is Jayhawk 6, and we're going into runway 1 left, and we want to do an ILS approach. That's the easiest approach to do, and it's the most straightforward one. So that's our route. It's a little bit different than the one, if you can see it in the little screen, it's a little different than the one that this spit out because we've added a departure and arrival to it. But what this will do is it'll put us at a gate, cold and dark. We'll have to start the airplane up. We'll start the A320 from nothing. We'll get it booted up. We'll load the passengers. And we'll get going all semi-realistically. I don't know how to do quite everything right in this yet. Like I said, I'm still learning things. So this is kind of an experience. So what we'll do while that's loading up is we will jump back over to this screen and I will pull up Navigraph. So whenever you create a sim brief plan, you can load it, you can activate a link to Navigraph, Volanta, all that good stuff. And you can actually pull up your flight plan and it'll pull up your destination airports. Now Navigraph is like 10, I think it's like €8 a month, so it's like $10 for us Americans. It's not bad, and it gives you all of these really cool charts and graphs. And so what we want to do is we want to find the taxi takeoff information. So let's see, load taxi routes. So what this does, and we'll pin this, you see this little pin button as we load into the game here. All right, let's just make sure that's right. We'll boot up that while we're waiting. We'll actually make sure that, so I have another thing called PACX. I'll go through here in like 2 seconds. It's really cool. It simulates passengers on your flight. Okay, so we'll load it up. A little scattered here, but we're fine. So there's that. Put it there. Load up. Okay. And get ATC off the screen. Easy. Oop. That. Okay. Back to Navigraph. So I don't know if you can see it with our overlay, but basically what this does is it gives you a breakdown of all the taxi routes. I use the taxi assist just because I get lost on runways, especially at big airports like DFW. It'll give you the runway information, and it'll give you direction. It'll give you this one. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, there's runway length, all that good stuff. So you don't have to guess. And the reason you need all that information has to do with what the A320 does for takeoff with the auto throttle and the climb settings that you use when you're taking off with it. Okay, so we've got that loaded up. I'll pull up more flight plans later, or more graphs later from Navigraph. Let's see, I was flying in California last night. So, yep, you can see the big storms here in Volanta. We just got hit with this big chunk a couple hours ago. But we're going to fly over one in the middle of Oklahoma here, and by the time we land, it should be fine. It was snowing yesterday in Kansas City, I know that. But we don't have to worry about any of that right now. So, first things first, let's boot up our plane here. So, the little tablet here, what we can do is actually really nice, is you can link your SimBrief account to... Hello? There we go. So you can link your SimBrief account to the actual plane itself, and it'll pull your flight plan up. So instead of having to go to a PDF or the web page or another app, you can actually look at your flight plan and all of your information in the tablet, which is really nice. So the first thing that I like to do is we will boot up our airplane. So you got to hook up to the external power. That'll boot up everything, including the ATC. You turn on your batteries here so that they can charge up to 28 volts, and then you'll turn on your crew supply of oxygen. After this, the next thing you want to do, let's see, we will get some brightness up right here just because it's a little dark. So you want to turn on these three switches here in that order, and what that does is it activates our nav screens here, which you can't really see because it's kind of dark. But these will take a little bit to align on their references, but once that's done, we will have the normal screens. These screens are for information of the airplane. So if we go back to our overhead panel, the other thing we want to do is turn on our strobe, turn on our nav lights, our seat belts, our smoking sign, and our emergency exit sign. Once all that's on, the airplane is pretty much ready to receive passengers, but the first thing you want to do is fuel your plane, because you don't want to add fuel to your plane when people are boarding. That could be bad. So we go down here to our OFP. Our block fuel is 6.3, so 6,327. I think this is in kilograms. Yes. We actually have to defuel the plane. So 6,000. What did I say? 327. We can round up. We can just do 6,330. So that'll take about a minute. We can just do it instantly too. We don't have to sit around and wait for it. So once that's done, what you want to do is you want to turn off your fuel pumps up here. And now we are ready to receive passengers. So what we'll do is we'll go to this button here, and this lets you control all the ground services. So we'll bring out the passenger bridge, the taxiway there, the walkway, whatever it's called. We'll do the baggage, and we'll bring out the catering truck just to get some realism going here. Center our view. So if you see everybody's moving around, doing stuff, we've got all the hustle and bustle of a regular airport. So the other app that we have that I wanted to show off was PACX, and what this does is it simulates a flight with passengers. They'll actually rate your experience and stuff like that. So we've got a 1 hour flight time, 30 minutes till we take off. That seems about right. So we'll put on Wi-Fi. We won't do meal service. It's a really short flight. We'll hit start. And you can kind of hear, I don't know if I have the volume turned up enough, but you can kind of hear them in the background. And they're boarding. So we've got some realistic stuff going on there. So we'll move over to our MCDU, get this bad boy set up. I think that's all we have to do there. We'll do ATSU. And there's another way that you can do boarding if you don't want to do PACX. It's $30. You go over to weight balance in the MCDU, and we can request and fill up our taxi stuff. This is all good information. And then you can actually do your payload, your ZL fuel weight, and your passengers. We have 163, so we'll hit start boarding. And this board's a little quicker than PACX. PACX is kind of slow. I mean, realistically, you need 30 minutes to board. It doesn't take 30 minutes to set up the airplane. Usually, I'm kind of just sitting here waiting for it. So the next thing we're going to want to do is go back to our MCDU menu. Go to this AOC. We'll do a weather request for... let's see, what are our airport codes? I always want to check. So we're Kdfw. Put that in here. and we'll do Kmci. Kmci. Boom. So we'll send that weather request off. While we're waiting on that, we will actually, we're actually going to wait on that for a second. We'll come over here. Let's see. We'll come over here, and this is, there's a lot of different versions of this, but what this does is it's a calculator for specifically the A320 or the Airbus series that lets you calculate your takeoff flaps and when you're going to rotate at what knot percentage, and also the setting on your throttle. So the setting, for anybody that doesn't really know, there's 3 settings on the auto throttle for a A320. I guess while we're waiting for people to board, we've got some time to go through this. So if you come down here and you look at it, so we've got, that's normal setting. This is the climb setting, which is auto throttle. This is where the throttle is for 98% of the flight. There's the flex setting, and there's the toga setting. So toga is takeoff, go around. That is max power out of the engines. It's giving it everything it's got. It also consumes the most fuel. You almost never need to use this unless you're going around. So if you get the go around from tower, or you miss your approach and you need to go around, you'll actually crank up to this, and this will give you the most thrust. Most of the time you're using flex, and what this does is it manages the throttle on takeoff, so it only uses the amount of throttle needed to get the plane off the ground according to what we input into the computer. We'll go over that in a second, but then you throttle back to climb once you're in the air. But right now we're going to leave it there because we're not going anywhere. So we've got our weather request in. I think we'll go to messages received, metar, we'll hit print. And what this will do is it'll print out our weather right here. If you can keep up with me, and it'll give us, in a second, there we go. It'll give us our weather report in our data, which we're going to need to punch into our calculator over here. So the first thing that we need to figure out is what runway we are taking off of. So we are taking off of runway 36 right. 36 right over here is right here. So it's this runway. The heading is 356, so we're facing almost directly north. And its length is along the side here. It's 13,401 feet. So what we'll do is we'll plug in the runway length. It's the longest runway, so we don't really need to worry about it. The elevation of the runway is at, it should be at the end of the runway. This one might not have it because this might be a taxi runway. Or if we could find the elevation of, let's see here. Let's just see if we can find it. Wait, okay, here we go. So our elevation is 600. So we don't have to really worry about that because it's under 1,000 feet. Our takeoff weight is in our OFP, which we can find in our simulator. Our takeoff weight is 64,182 kilograms. We got to do some quick math here. 64,182 kg, 2 pounds. So that is our takeoff weight in pounds. Let's find this again. Takeoff weight, boom. Our flap setting, flaps 1, no anti-ice. It is dry right now, it's not raining. So if we come back in our simulator and we come down to the metar, whatever you want to call it, this is where we'll get this information. So right now our wind component, we are 350, 21 knots, gusting to 29. So we want to max this thing out. We're a headwind of over 20 knots. Our outside temperature you can find by looking at the slashes. So we're O2/MO4. That's our temperature and dew point. We're very cold right now, so we are at 2 degrees Celsius. Our QNH is the A. We're at 3016. That's the barometric pressure. 3016 is right here. So we've got all of the information we need in here. We'll hit calculate takeoff, and it will give us our settings. So let's bring you back into the MCDU, and you go over to the performance page. So we've got a flaps setting of 1/up. let's see, where's the P? Up 1, and that goes to this. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to look at this right here. You can't really see it really well because it's smaller. You're going to take this exact screen and translate it into this. Our flex to temp is 62. Our transition altitude is 18,000 in the US. It's a little higher. And our V1 is 158. Our V2 or VR, which is our rotate speed, is 158. And our V2 is 159. So after that's in there, you hit next. Oop, actually, it's the initialization page we need to do. So we are flight number 5643. Our cost index, you come over here. So our cost index is 5. Our flight level is 350. You put 5 here. 350. That's all you have to put. It'll calculate the rest. So our IRS initialization is correct. And then once you're done with that, you go to the next one. You can just tap this twice to input your 0 fuel weight. Our block fuel is whatever we put in. So at this point, 6.3. Or we'll do 6.4. And basically what this is doing is this is telling the computer how to fly the plane. It's telling us how heavy we are. It's telling us, you know, what it'll take the engines to accelerate and climb us to the proper speeds. And, once you get this all filled in, flying the plane is pretty easy. So we'll go back to performance. This is correct. Let's see, MCDU is done. I'm pretty sure that is all of the things that we need to plug in. So while we're still waiting for, well, you can see we're still boarding down here, we're actually going to get the APU booted up. And the APU is actually just a little engine in the back of the plane that you turn on to keep the batteries running while you're starting up the engines as you're backing out.
We're ready to go when you are.
So there we go. Just in time, we are boarded. So we'll turn on the master switch for the APU starter, and if you come down here, right there, you can see our APU is spooling up. So while that's going on, we are actually going to come over here, and we're going to detach the jetway. And we got to make sure that detaches so that we don't fly around like I've done multiple times with doors open. So there we go. There's our flight attendant talking to our crew. And what's cool is people have created, I don't know if they've recorded or hired somebody to do this. They've actually created their own flight attendant announcement for, you know, whatever system or whatever plane they're flying. I haven't done that yet. So the other thing we need to do is set our barometer to 3016. Because we are, I think that's what it was, right? Yep. 3016. It's very pressured today. Boop, boop. Okay, and if you don't set that, then this is off. Basically, the way the plane calculates its distance to sea level is by barometric pressure. So that's this right here. If this is wrong, this will be off. I don't know if you've ever seen Die Hard 2, but that's how they crash that one plane. They tell them the wrong pressure. Okay, so let's go to clearance. We will request our IFR clearance from the tower. Let's see. Let's get our, what in the freaking world? Let's get this going. So, I think it's this we need to boot up. I've got a lot of freaking systems working here. Okay, so we got data. Here's our current flight data. Okay, so there we go. Now you guys can see our current flight data. So we will acknowledge our request. Our APU is spooled up. Our doors are closed. What we'll do is we'll call the tug over. There he goes right there. So we're climbing up to 12,000 feet off the bat here. Boom. All right. So what I've got down here is I've got, so it actually has these switches to start the engine on my little throttle here. So what we'll do is we'll start the pushback, we'll disengage our parking brake, crank this over to engine start, boom. Actually, we need to turn on the APU bleed first. Forgot a bunch of steps, because I'm dumb. We actually did turn those off. So once the APU bleed is on, you can see our engine is starting to spool up. That's our right engine. You can see it here, starting to move. So I think we're going this way. We'll turn the engine, or turn the plane here in a second.
There are several emergency exits on this aircraft. Please take a few moments now to locate your nearest exit. In some cases, your nearest exit
We'll start turning here.
If we need to evacuate the aircraft, floor level.
Okay, so we're waiting for this to get to 19. Once that hits 19, it'll say engine available, or it'll just say available. And then we can actually flip over and start the next one. Whoop, that's the wrong button. Okay, we'll go straight back now. Alright, so that says available. As you can see right here, we are available. So we'll actually, oh, never mind, we'll keep that on. And we'll start our left engine, engine number 1. And we're still backing up while this whole thing's going on. Alright, I'll turn a little bit more. Got it. Alright, we'll stop our pushback here. Boop. Okay. And we will actually make sure to get rid of the tug. And there's a little bit of a glitch with the A320 fly-by-wire where if you get rid of the tug and it doesn't go away completely, this happened to me the other day, you actually can't turn your... It'll act like it's gone, but you can't turn your front wheel. You can't taxi properly. So we'll request the taxi IFR as this reaches almost where we need it to be. Alright, that's available. So we'll turn this back to normal running mode. We'll actually need to close our cabin. We'll turn on all that. We'll acknowledge, turn off the APU blade and the master switch. Make sure that our lights are on. Turn these two lights to taxi. And then we should be good to start taxiing. So you can see our taxiway there. So we'll crank that up a little bit. A little bit of that going. We'll actually need to turn on our brightness here because I can't really see it. Cool. We'll get a little bit of brightness there. And while we're taxiing, we will turn up some of that. Panel brightness, get a little bit of floodlight, get a little bit of pedestal light. That way we can actually see if it gets darker, which I don't think it will. So we are taxiing out right now. And while you're taxiing out in the A320, there's a lot of steps you can do to get your plane ready for takeoff. And it'll pop up here in a second as we get further along. We want to make sure to stay about 15 knots. I have a real problem with the A320 of accelerating to like 40 knots because I'm not paying attention on the taxiway. It's a little excessive. Yep, see, we're still flying. All right. Actually go over here, and you've got some nice flight info here. You've got your weather, you've got your cruise cost index, all your necessary information you can get on this little tablet, which is pretty cool. Okay, so here's our checklist, as you can see right over here. So we've got all our signs on. We've got to put the auto brake, which is right here, to max. We need to set, I'll do it, I've got buttons here, but I'll do it so I can show you. We need to set the speed brake to armed. We need to put our flaps to position 1, which is our takeoff position that we input earlier. And we wait for our flaps on our plane to actually, let's see, let's put the camera in while we're taxiing here. Got a bunch of camera angles that I like to use. So you can actually see our flaps have come down now. And we're at 26 knots, just like I said, might accidentally happen because I'm terrible at this. Okay, so here's a plane coming into land. We're probably going to have to hold short while they get off the runway. So once you put your... So basically what this is doing, half of this is in case you have to go around. This puts you in what is essentially an emergency braking stopping situation if you have to go around. Say we blow an engine on takeoff, or we're 10 feet in the air and we have a bird strike. Basically, all of this information is so that while we're turning around in emergency landing, whether that be on the runway or somewhere else, we don't have to worry about that. I think that's what it does. So we will check our takeoff configuration, which is normal. And the last thing we will do before we take off is we'll hit this call button, and that will signal everyone that we are about to take off. Yep, here comes a plane in. And the one thing I didn't do was check our flight plan. So if we go to nav here and we scroll this all the way out, we should be able to see most of the flight plan. Yep, looks good. Sometimes when you import your flight plan, it'll goof up and have you go a weird direction, or it'll... I had one time, I think I recorded this, where it wanted me to go all the way down to Houston, and then fly all the way back to Dallas, and then fly all the way back to Houston, then land. And that was just Microsoft Flight Simulator being all wonky. I don't have pedals yet. Still don't have those. I opted to buy the throttle and the flight stick before I got pedals, because I can control all that. I got brake bound to the trigger here. So we will taxi, hold short, pop our parking brake on, tune the tower, request takeoff. Okay, while that's happening, we're going to turn on our takeoff lights, turn off those, crank these bad boys. Actually, I don't think we need to do that right now. 337 at 34 knots. So it's going to be gnarly, this takeoff. We will hit the call all button. That'll be the last thing we have to do for that. Let's see if I can input. Nope, that's all good. All right, so let's get rid of the parking brake. Let's move out here. You can see all the clouds. It's real stormy in Dallas today. Well, it says airspeed of 18 knots, even though we're going like normal. Oh, there comes a plane to land. That's fun. Nice computer landing. Alright, so our last thing to do before we take off, we will start the chronometer here, and that'll be our flight time. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll pop the throttle up to our, let's see, come on, there we go, flex. So you can see down here, we're in flex, and all we're doing is we're holding this steady until we hit our V1 and our VR speed. Here we go, 120 knots. We're getting blown all over the runway here. All right, 160 rotate. So we're gonna take off. Ooh, low wind. So as soon as we're positive, we'll gear up. There we go. And we'll make sure to keep this online here at about 10 degrees. There goes DFW. So we'll turn regional departure. 1,700 feet, climbing 12. So once you're off the ground like this, you can engage autopilot at any time. So right there, we're 2,000 off, so it was blinking at me. Okay, so we're instructed to not go above 240 knots on takeoff. We put it in climb, and what this does is engage the auto throttle. So from here on out, unlike a lot of other planes, I don't have to touch the throttle the whole flight. Because the A320 manages the throttle and the trim for you, you're kind of just flying, letting the plane fly itself. All right. Okay, we are steady here, going through a cloud. We will engage the autopilot, and that will take us there. So we'll make sure that our speed stays below 240. We'll take it up to 230. We'll engage managed airspeed mode, and we will turn off our flaps, turn off the ground spoiler. You can see the flaps go in. So we've disengaged our ground spoiler, we've disengaged our flaps, the auto brake disengages automatically, and now we're climbing. So we'll just wait for more instructions from ATC as we go out. You'll notice I changed our QNH here to 3017 because that's what Tower said the new QNH was. So, pretty easy. Okay, and once we're through this initial climb phase, we'll go back into Navigraph and we'll need to pull up our approach chart and our navigation transition chart. That'll tell us, the game has it pre-programmed, like, not the game, but the plane itself knows where it's going. But just in case there's any diversion or they tell us to take a different approach, it's good to have the map out so that you can quickly change the flight computer and navigate to the new approach. Just once we are through 10,000 feet, we should be able to kind of relax. So, pretty easy takeoff.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now passing through 10,000 feet. So now turn on your larger portable electronic devices. As a reminder, please keep your seatbelt fastened.
Pretty easy takeoff for us.
This aircraft includes onboard Wi-Fi. You will be required to use small speed switch to access it. We do offer complimentary in-flight speed.
So as soon as, so he said 3021 on our QNH, we're going to pop that up to 3021. I bet you as soon as we hit about 11.5, they're going to tell us to increase to 20 or something. Because we filed for 350, and I bet you we're going to be there pretty soon. Alright, let's get the speed back up so we can get up to our cruising speeds here. And you'll see when we do that, you can see our engine throttle here. This is the throttle percentage. It actually increases because the plane knows to increase it because we are climbing. So we'll do 260, 26,000 feet. Engage managed mode, which is this little dot. Basically right now the computer is doing everything based off of the flight plan that we input to it. So it's doing our speed automatically, our heading based on this line here because this is our flight plan, and then it's also climbing to what we input. So that's pretty easy. So, like I said, we'll actually pop back over here to Navigraph. So this, we don't really need this anymore. What we need to pull up now is the MCI star. So we are doing the Jayhawk arrival from when we input the flight plan. You could have seen that. So we will actually pin this, and we'll come back to this in a second. We're doing an approach for ILS 1 left. We will pin that. So here is kind of what we need to pay attention to. So we're coming from this direction. Basically, this is, like I explained in the last video, these are the highways that we have to transfer in from to get onto the landing highway here. So we're coming into the Jayhawk point, and if we come over here to our flight plan section, you can actually see these points. I know you can't really see it, but this says Jayhawk, whose USR, which are these. Okay, that's not us. So these are all of our points, and those coincide with our landing points here. Cyper, Dashi, Wimpo. This is our. Basically, we have to follow these little stair steps in. These are our flight levels, and the ATC will kind of help us with this. But one of the big things that you have to make sure to do when you're flying the A320 is there is an approach mode up here. And what this approach mode does is it will actually line you up with the runway on the glide slope and take you in at a glide. Kind of what you're supposed to do with the airplane anyway, but it does it for you. And if you're not going the correct speed, which is usually about 160 knots, the first thing it's going to try and do is slow you down. And in order to slow down an airplane, you either need to gain altitude or cut the engines and wait for your plane to slow down and lose momentum. And if you're going too fast when you hit that approach mode, usually you hit it when you're like 4 miles away from your landing zone. And if you miss that, you're going to overshoot the runway because the plane's trying to slow down before it goes into the glide. So that's something we got to make sure. So the other thing is we just passed 18,000 feet, or we did a minute ago, and it'll start blinking at you. So this is our transition altitude. So what we do is we hit this to standard, and what that does is the plane takes over calculating the barometric pressure, I'm pretty sure is what it does. So right now the plane knows better than the ground will where it's at as far as altitude goes. So we just let the plane fly itself. Back to our maps, we've got those two pinned. Basically what we're looking out for is the Jayhawk point. Once we hit that, that's when we start our approach. So, a lot of talking, a lot of things going on, a lot of stuff happening. But it's all fun. There's a lot to do. And once you get the plane going and you get it flying itself, you can kind of just sit back and relax. We're not a very long flight. Well, this will actually give me a chance to walk through PACX. So you get this menu in PACX, and you can make an announcement through a microphone if you just want to role play. Here's your settings, so you can change, your volume, which is really nice. You can also change. One of the big things is the where did I just put it? So incidents. So you can actually simulate incidents. Like you have an engine go out, or you'll have fuel leak, something random, which it's kind of fun because you can make a career out of this. You can actually run a career mode and you get a pilot rating based on how you're flying. But for the most part, it's kind of annoying to be 3 hours into a flight and it just dies on you. This is our passenger information. So this stuff is reflected down here on this bottom bar. Fort Worth on 1281. Alright, sorry, dealing with ATC real quick. And as soon as we get to 255, they're going to tell us to climb to 36. Guarantee it. Yeah. Okay, so this information is reflected down here at the bottom. They're satisfied. Expected arrival is in under an hour, and we're climbing. You can actually hit this button, and because this has almost every plane in Microsoft Flight Simulator reflected in it, or whatever flight simulator you're using, you can actually see the layout of the different planes reflected here. For an A320, it's just standard like this. Like, we're just running the 3x3. There's nothing crazy. There's no first class or anything. You can actually change up this layout. If you go into the settings, you can choose. Pretty sure you can choose that. where you can, might be a different spot, but you can actually change the layout of the interior of your airplane. But these are your flight attendants, these two dots. I think there's 3 of them, and you can actually click on different dots here and see what they're feeling. So the brighter green, the better. The darker orange, the worse. So, you know, you can see this guy's a little tired. He's in business class versus, or no, this is their purpose, their age. It's kind of fun to click around and just see what people like. And their moods will change based on, you know, if they're didn't get enough drinks or anything. And then at the end of the flight, you'll actually get an after-flight report that'll tell you what the passengers thought of your flying. You know, did you have a hard landing, smooth landing, had a schedule behind schedule, that kind of stuff. All pretty easy. What we can actually do, actually we're about to get another altitude increase, I bet, so I'll wait for that. Come on. No, we're about to get it. There it is. 3.5. Crap. Alright, so while we're waiting, we can go over to the performance page. And basically what this does is this lets you input data for different parts of your... So we're still in the climb, then we go to cruise, then we decelerate. The big phase that you have to actually pay attention to is the approach phase. And a lot of this stuff you have to enter in data before you get to it, or the computer won't know what to do. So just like last time, our transition altitude is 18,000. You can actually get a lot of this information from here. So our MCI, our temperature is actually just 0. We are really cold up in Kansas City today. Our QNH is right here, A3025, so that's 3025. You don't have to put in the decimal point. It'll do it for you right there. So that'll be our pressure when we get there. Our wind and our heading, so 300 at 9 knots. 300, hit the slash, 9, boom, that's our wind. So this one is the only one that still kind of confuses me, and I think this has something to do with the flight page. So yeah, ILS 1214 over here. I'm just going to guess, and I think that's right. I think that goes into the radio. So this is kind of like, I think the pressure and everything's different here. That's the one thing that I need to figure out still. I haven't ever had an issue with landing because of this. So we're on, let's see, I think we're 142 vertical landing speed. Yeah, so we're on full flaps for landing, and we're ILS, so we're turning ILS 1 left. It's actually -1 in Kansas City right now. Essentially, what you want to do is that all of this is going to change by the time we get there. The 2 things that are going to change are going to be the QNH and the wind. The temperature might change. We can look up another weather report by the time we get there, but that doesn't matter as much as the wind and the QNH. And you'll be inputting. I'll be inputting, or whoever's doing this will be inputting data into these 2 spots, literally right up until the landing gear hits the ground almost. You'll be updating it to tell the computer how to manage the wind. We're actually going to be way ahead of schedule. We've got a 100 knot tailwind right now up here. This is insane. So this is going to get us there probably, I don't even know. See, we're going 545 over the ground. This is really fast for a flight like this. Yep. Nice and easy. So yeah, this is a big part of your flight planning. You shouldn't really have to, we shouldn't have to worry about that until we start our descent. Though, so once we get to our, you can actually, and that's the other thing, you can actually pull, you can actually pull up our charts here because I have this integrated into Navigraph. It's not as intuitive as having it on its own screen. You can see it kind of it's kind of janky and it's nice, but like, you know, it's kind of laggy in this system. It's much easier to have it over here. So yep, we are just flying, constantly checking our performance, making sure everything's good. We could probably turn off our takeoff lights. Dummy. I always forget how to do that, or forget to do that after I take off. I'm very bad at that kind of thing. So yeah, just enjoying the view, cruising. Not a whole lot going on. Put it there so y'all aren't staring at a instrument panel the whole time. So now is the time where me, as the streamer, can just look up random stuff. So let's look at the 737. Is anything up? So, new update from PMDG. So they're still doing beta testing for our new, oh, excuse me, new 737. I can't see any of these. Yeah. Getting pretty excited about this. They said it's going to be about $70. So these guys make some really cool planes. Look at that. I'm excited to fly the 737. I don't know anything about flying it. I don't know any of the controls. Nothing. So it'll be kind of cool to see how this goes. This is their official preview trailer. Yeah, they don't show off the interior very much, I've seen. They're just like doing little screen grabs. God, that thing is cool. It's a good looking airplane. I want to see what the wing flex flight model looks like. That was one of the big problems with some of the Captain Sim ones. I'm sure it's going to be fine. Yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun. That HUD. Yeah, flying these big planes is fun because you get to feel like a real pilot. Oh, is that the cargo variant? That's cool. Yeah, so if you can hear it, so now you can see down here, serving snacks and drinks. So our flight attendants will actually go through, and it takes them about 25 minutes to do it. They'll serve everyone some drinks and some peanuts and stuff, which is cool, and that helps your satisfaction. So the only thing that kind of sucks is if you fly a really short flight, they'll kind of get mad at you about it. They'll be like, what kind of plane doesn't have a snack or a drink? And it's like, you flew we were in the air for 20 minutes, that kind of thing. So we'll get back to this video while they do that. Those look so good. Look at like the finger smudges. Like, I know that's like a weird detail, but it's cool. Look at all of that cool stuff. So one of the throttle quadrants you can get is the Boeing one. I can't remember who makes it. It might be Thrustmaster. They make a Boeing one. Apparently the yoke is like the best yoke you can get, but it's like super expensive. And the throttle quadrant they made is apparently nobody's like a big fan of it. So I don't know. It could be expensive. I'm trying to find a reason to use this Turtle Beach one outside of a Cessna. I mean, obviously that's everything besides an A320 in Microsoft Flight Simulator right now uses a yoke. So I use it for, you know, Beechcrafts, King Airs, private jets and stuff like that. But as far as like having the actual throttle quadrant, it's really nice to have something that mimics the exact layout of the cockpit, which is what this throttle quadrant does for the Airbus. And I've heard this is kind of janky, so we'll have to see how people work with it. I don't know. I think we'll be fine with the with the Turtle Beach stick. I don't see any reason to get something else. Ooh, what? Is this all? Is this all customization you can do in the cockpit? Is that what they're doing right now? Look at that. Look at that. So he added that. So it. Oh, okay. So I've heard they're doing two different versions of this. I've heard there's going to be a 7 and 800 series that launch at the same time, and then they're going to go back and do 5 600, and then keep going back until it's like the original. So I wonder if that's the difference that we're seeing here. Oh, what was that? So that looks like the difference in two different... So it took this stabilization stuff from the yoke, or from the throttle quadrant. This is interesting. This is the idle cutoff, the stabilization trim. Yeah, and then it changed it. Huh. That's got to be the two different versions. That's got to be the difference between the 7 and the 800. Look at all those buttons. Yeah, see, it's set up the same exact way as an Airbus, as far as where the speed brake, the flaps, and the reversers are. But the reversers on a Boeing, you pull it back and then you pull these two knobs. You pull those. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, look at that. Man, that looks cool. Look at all the scratches on there too. Look at the wing flex. That's what I was talking about. Rain, wing flex again. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. Well, everybody just got dumped on their side because we just turned during... Cool. Oh, comments are off. Where's the date on YouTube now? They change it so much. I don't know how long ago that was, but 3 weeks ago. Yeah, so it's still in beta. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be good. Alright, where are we at? Not even to Jayhawk yet. So we've got, man, we're like 140, 150 miles from our pattern entry. Oh, I guess we can turn off the seatbelts, right? Because we're almost done with snacks and drinks. So you can see on this line, so the wind's coming in this way, so we're having to actually turn into the wind to stay straight, which is just funny. So we're actually not gaining as much speed as I thought, because we're having to fight the wind to stay on course here. Oh well. Should be fine. Should be fine. Let's see if there's anything else. I know there's I know Phoenix is doing an A320. It's supposed to come out soon. There we go. So I'll read this together. So this is the other thing. We're gonna have the 737 gonna drop. The Phoenix A320 is gonna drop, which is what we're flying now, but it's gonna be a payware version. So it'll be a lot better as far as systems and bugs go. And then Microsoft Flight Simulator is supposed to release the Concorde. I think that's a special edition anniversary thing. So we're gonna get like 3 really good planes in like a month. Obviously, I'm going to buy the 737 first because I've already got an A320 that works just fine. I don't need anything else. Moving up to Kansas City Center. Hello, Goose. Come here. Come here, friend. Come here. You want to say hi to everybody? You want to say hi to the people? Oh, look at him. Oh, he's so cute. My little, you know, my little co-pilot. You get a little co-pilot hat. You're just too sleepy. We watched Lord of the Rings this morning. You watched Lord of the Rings with Dad? Was it too scary and loud for you? Is that what happened? He doesn't know what to do. You're in control, Goose. Talk to me, Goose. You're a spoiled dog, you know that? You should get to sit here all day. Your dad had to take off work to take care of you. You went down? Is that what it is? Alright, say goodbye. Goodbye. Ugh, he's gonna go off and sleep somewhere dumb, probably like under a table. God dang, dude, you shed so much. Why you got so much fur? Alright. Okay. Desktop consumers. Full simulation physics. So that's the biggest thing, I think, is that the MCDU, which is the flight computer we programmed at the beginning of our flight, that's going to be completely different. Not completely different, but it's going to be realistic. So it's going to be a lot more in-depth. Yeah, this is going to be... Because the fly-by-wire is great. It makes the regular A320 in the game look like crap because it doesn't do anything compared to the fly-by-wire one, but this is going to be even more because every system is going to be updated. Every system is going to have an operational button. Everything. What's going on? Bro. Okay. Sorry, my friends are blowing up my phone because baseball is finally back. Joe Buck is leaving Fox. Interesting. Okay. NORAD algorithms, determining satellite location, velocity, Earth orbit, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of real-life inputs to put into that computer. That's kind of what I expect from the PMDG 737. So it's kind of good that I've gotten a hang of this more simple version that they have in the A320 right now, because by the time I get to this, I'm going to be learning it all over again. More realistic turbulence, probably. Wow, cargo heat. Yeah, these failure lists, there's 280 failures. I don't know, man. It's cool, but it's just not for me to fly and have an engine go out or something. It just frustrates me. Autoland. This looks a lot like the... Price hopefully isn't crazy. All that mess. Man, dude. Somebody needs to clean this A320 that they're using. Cool. So that was all the way back last summer. There's got to be a new update. Oh, they're in beta since January 31st. Let's see, there might be more. March 5th last year. Helicopters. Let's see, November 12th. Alright, we're starting our descent, so we can stop messing around.
Descend and maintain flight level 2900 jet with 564 tree.
Ooh, working good. SR-71 would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. I would have a good time with that. Okay, so we're almost to Jayhawk. You can hear him telling me to slow down, or not slow down, but lose altitude as we come in.
Kansas City Center jet with 564 tree is at flight level 335 descending flight level 290. Jet with 564 tree Kansas City Center.
Okay. So once we hit this next point, I'm going to start slowing the plane. It might take us... I'm just so worried about overshooting the runway because I'm overspeed. I don't want to use the speed brakes. So we'll have to find out. Yep, we're in our descent flight phase. So let's turn our seatbelts back on. Nice and sunny up here in Kansas. Actually, are we in Kansas yet? Yep, we're over Emporia. Okay, let's get back to the action.
Jet with 564 tree descend and maintain 15,000 feet.
15, okay, we are going down,
Descend
down,
and
down.
maintain 15,000 feet jet with 564 tree.
As soon as we get to 15,000 feet, I'm going to decrease our speed pretty heavily. Because right now we are cruising along and it's a little too quick. Just a little too quick. Okay. Okie dokie. We're supposed to be at 12,000 by the time we get to Jayhawk Point, so we've got a long ways to go. What do we have? About 30 miles before we hit that. We need to go down 11,000 feet. It can be done. It can be done. So you can see over here, I guess I haven't had my map pulled up the whole time, which kind of sucks. You can see we're all the way up here. Oh, that's bad. There we go. So we're going to fly in here, come in this way, and then we'll actually just kind of wrap around like that. We're not going to go straight in. We'll do this to Noah's, and then once we get to Noah's, we'll kind of go whoop, and then up into one left. But for now, we'll keep that up as we descend. Okay. Hello, Goose. Have you come back to say hello? Is there something you need to tell me? Nope. Nothing important, as he is a dog. Nothing important.
Generic tree Foxtrot Juliet, contact Kansas City Center on 123.8. Good day. 123.8 for generic tree Foxtrot Juliet.
We're starting to get into it, boys and girls. I think our only speed restriction up until our entry is 210 at Noah's. Which I don't even know if we get to that point. No, we don't. I think we go kind of like that. Alright. Back to our performance page. We'll go here just in case we need it in a second.
JetBlue Flight 643, contact Kansas City Center on 123.8. Good day. 123.8 for JetBlue Flight 643. Kansas City Center JetBlue Flight 643 is at flight level 190, descending 15,000 feet. JetBlue Flight 643 Kansas City Center, continue to jog as planned.
Good old Kansas City. Alright, let's get this map back up. Okay, what was our 3025? So now we're below 18,000 feet. We actually have to put this back to whatever this pressure is right now. They'll tell us a different pressure later, but for now, this is what we need. I'm actually going to pull the map up because I need this. Start bleeding speed here down to about 240 should be good. Well, actually, our plane will level off for a good second as it drops speed. And then after a couple seconds, it'll continue to descend. So you can see right here, we're going down. We're also dropping. The problem is that while you're doing both of those, they kind of cancel each other out. So we're going a lot slower than we should. The way that I can speed this up is I can actually pop on the speed brakes just a little bit. And what that'll do is it'll help slow us down while also still being able to drop our altitude, which is important. 7,000. Clear to Cyper. Okay. So we're cleared through Cyper, which is this point here, and when we get there, we should be at about 180 knots. Is what this is saying, I think. Okay, we'll go to 6,000 then, geez. We'll descend a little bit here. Good news is we got ourselves down to 240. So getting down to 180 isn't as big of a deal. But we do need to bleed some speed here. At some point. Alrighty then, we need to pay attention to our speed and our altitude here without screwing up either of them. This approach is going to happen pretty quick. Because we're about 10 miles away and we're still... We need to expedite this. So what expediting does is it basically... It kind of frees up your ground speed. See, we're speed's climbing, but we're diving quicker. We're getting our speed down faster, which is good. Because once we get down to about 7,000, 6,000 feet, then we can start slowing down more. Problem with ATC in this game is that they don't really take into account what plane you're flying. So, you know, we're going 350 knots over the ground and they, you know, they tell you to drop like you're in a Cessna. It's like you can't do that quick. They don't give you enough time to really decrease your altitude or your speed going into the pattern. So we should be landing right off over here, I think. It's over this way.
All Wi-Fi related tasks and show any larger
5,000 now. Oh no! Get the expedited back on. Our poor passengers are probably like bleeding out of their ears right now because we're dropping at 2,700 feet per minute, which is really quick. Yep, here we go into the pattern. So Dashi is the 5,000. We need to go down to 4,000 almost immediately. So I'm just going to put that in because we don't need to mess with it. What we need to do is bleed off our speed soon. I should have been doing that earlier. If we came in way too quick. We'll do 40% on our speed brake-ish. Yep, there's our runway, I think, right there. Hard to see today. Okay, we're going on a 4,000. Yeah, no, we already are. Expedite that. Okay, let's start losing speed because we're going way too quick. This is going to be a very, very fun landing. Because we are just going so freaking fast right now. Yeah, we are losing speed here. So we'll turn on our landing indicator here. This tells us if we're lined up with the runway or not. Let's just go full. We need to lose a lot of speed very quickly. We are coming in really hot, boys. This is not what I wanted to do. See how we're not descending enough? Because I turned on approach while we were still going so fast. We actually need to break this off. We're going to have to circle around. We're going to have to circle around while we lose speed here. Because we're not doing so hot. See, we would have been nowhere close to that landing. Which is why we do go-arounds. Probably do this a lot better. See, that guy missed his approach too. It's because of that tailwind. That tailwind really just sent us flying. Okay, so we're down to 180, so we can actually turn that off. Which is good. Turn that off for now. The good news is we're still ahead of schedule. Still 15 minutes ahead because of that tailwind. So we'll circle back for a couple miles, and then we'll go in. Yeah, we should be bleeding speed off before we descend, I think, is the best way to do it. Why are we going up? Let's not do that. Now we'll circle in. Get down to about 2,600. Getting the scenic tour here. We'll get better at it. We will learn. That is what this is all for. guess we can pop out our flaps, right? Now that we're lower on speed here, this will help. Yeah, I got my flaps and my spoiler bound to this. Let's do our cabin check, get our landing lights on. Line up on the runway here. Let's do autopilot, turn you on. Okay. We're gonna get there. Pop out the landing gear. We'll do full flaps. Get our speed down to 160.
100 above. 100 above. Minimum. Minimum.
Got it. We get full flaps. Yep, full flaps. Armed, I think.
1,000.
Cabin. Call it.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
This turned out so much better because we went around. We were about 200 knots fast and 3,000 feet high. That would have been a nightmare. So I know I didn't do a lot of good explaining there at the end just because of this craziness, but we should have been inputting all this data into that. We're going to turn out just fine though. Nothing, there's no crazy weather or anything to worry about. What we will do is we'll turn on, so this is a ILS instrument landing system. We turn on approach mode, which basically does the glide slope for us. Up into, oh, that is some bright runway.
100.
Let's get up here.
50. 40. 30. 20. Retard.
So we'll throttle down, reverse thrust,
5.
hit the ground, brakes, spoilers should be out. Yep. Slow it down to about 70 knots. And then, oh, we never got landing clearance. Wow. We are bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kansas City. The local time is 3:30 p.m. and it's currently about 32.
I've done a lot better at landing, but whatever. Yeah, we're good.
If this is your final destination, we thank you for flying with us. When you're making a connection, we encourage you to check your itinerary to ensure a smooth continuation of your journey.
So, yeah, the only thing about Kansas City that kind of sucks is there's no taxi to gates option. They don't really, they haven't really fully done this phase. So, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to park it here. Why not? Let's see if we can do... we can't get the deboarding. So, yeah, because of Kansas City, which I should have known this, there's no good way to end the flight here, so we will just end it. Yes. Alright, so that was insane and eventful and kind of dumb, but we managed to get there without dying. We're just parked up on a taxiway right now. So that'll be it for this stream. Hope everybody enjoyed it, and I will try and do these more regularly. I'll try and do them at least 3 times a week going forward, just to kind of get into the groove of it. So thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe, like, or comment, or do whatever you want. Leave me a message. So, see you guys later.